get to the topic. We are talking about human nature and human relationships. So when I thought of who we humans are, I thought that we are social, emotional, rational, and at the top of it, we are spiritual beings. We are social because when we define ourselves, we never say we are animals. We always say we are social animals. And somebody asked Dr. Mead, who is a leading very tall figure in anthropology, that, ma'am, according to you, what is one of the most turning points in the history of humankind? And when you ask a question to an anthropologist who studies tribes and their behavior, it is assumed that she would say fire or wheel or probably agriculture when we became settlers. But to everyone's surprise, she said that for me, one of the biggest turning points in the history of humankind is when on an excavation site, they discovered a healed femur bone. Now, for those of you who don't understand the femur bone, it's one of the longest bones in our body and it's one of the strongest bones in our body. It is because of the femur bone that we are able to walk. And if the femur is fractured, there is no way we can walk. We need to be in the cast, and rest.
Dr. Shilpa, please come little closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, little more close.
I will, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Is it any better, sir?
Much better, and it is perfectly fine now.
Okay. So she said, yeah. So when they found a healed femur, she said that the era that the bone belonged to was the one when we were hunter-gatherers. So certainly we were moving from one place to another. And for that bone to get healed, either the whole tribe would have waited for that one person to get healed and then move on, or somebody would have carried that person on one's back and would have ferried that person along. So she says the time when we became those, when we transformed from being wild, primates to engaging cooperative beings, for me, it is one of the biggest turning points in the history of mankind. So I think if Margaret Mead says that, we all need to believe it, that humans are humans because we have these interpersonal connects, because we have empathy, because we believe in cooperation and collaboration, and that's what makes us social. Imagine you are sitting, I do not know how many kilometers away from me, but the moment it was shared that, I had this little freak nudge on the road, everybody felt concerned. We haven't even met once in our lives, yet there was a human to human connect, and everybody, thought and cared and meant well and sent the wishes. Look, that's what makes us human. The social connections, the interpersonal connections. I'm very happy that we are addressing these interpersonal connections for 5 long days in different sessions with all of you. So there's nothing new that I'll be talking about or teaching to all of you. It would just be remembering what we already know. We are emotional. Let me tell you, we think we are logical, but we are biological beings. When we talk about emotional intelligence, when we talk about emotional agility, right? We all know it, that when there is a choice between survival and maybe progress, obviously we choose survival. So emotions are what make us a biological being. They connect us to the environment and to people around us at a very different level altogether. And we have both effective as well as ineffective emotions. And Anuradha would be taking one full session on emotional intelligence. So those people who know how to manage their emotions, they have more peaceful lives and more harmonious lives. So it's emotions and our capacity to manage those emotions that makes us human. And of course, something we really brag about and something we're very proud of, we are logical and rational beings. That's why we are able to plan and execute and dream and imagine and create. And we are spiritual beings. I always say, I read it somewhere, and I felt this is so true. that we are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. So we have come here to experience, because we need bodies to experience the material world around us, right? So we have taken this three-dimensional form to experience the sunsets and the sunrises and feel the air on our faces and experience the love and bonding and everything else, right? So actually we are spirits, but these bodies are gifts, and our senses give us the opportunity to experience the world around us, and the planet earth has been kind enough to offer itself for our survival and our existence. And something very special that we humans have, which a lot of other beings do not, we have language, right? So we have a lot of topics that we would be covering in these sessions on communication skills, because all animals, they have sounds, but voices, language, this arbitrary set of symbols and rules through which we make connections, is something extremely or totally exclusive to human beings. We must know and understand how to use language in an effective manner to strengthen the bonds between fellow humans. I've already talked about emotions. Another thing which distinguishes humans from other beings is our capacity to be aware and to be conscious of the world around us. Isn't it? Animals, they operate on instincts. Isn't it? They operate on impulses, they operate on reflexes. It is we humans who have been given this gift to be aware of the context and respond in a manner that is most appropriate to the context, and not something that there is a blueprint for it in our genes. So look at the free will that you and I as human beings we enjoy. We have choices, right? To just give you a shortest story on the power of free will, there were uh, twin boys born to an alcoholic father. One of the boys was an alcoholic, and other was a complete teetotaler. So someone asked this boy who was an alcoholic, "Hey, why are you an alcoholic?" He had a very simple answer to it: "Because my father is an alcoholic," he said. Granted, yes, you've been born and raised by a dysfunctional parent, so you became an alcoholic, right? And then to the other guy, to the other brother, the same question was asked, like, "Why are you an alcoholic? Sorry, why are you a teetotaler?" He said, "Because my father is an alcoholic." If you get the message, same parent, same genes, identical twins, same environment, yet it was a choice whether I want to copy and become like a dysfunctional human who has raised me, or I choose my role models carefully, and choose someone and choose to become someone who is more functional, who is more who operates on the environment and uses the free will to do that. So you and I, हमारे पास free will है, हमारे पास freedom of choices है, right? So one of the things that I really want today to happen is that, we all take the ownership of our circumstances. Here, everybody sitting in the hall, we keep on blaming, and we keep on justifying and explaining, why has this happened to me, or why have I accepted to be a little compromised version of myself, right? The onus is on us, because the choice lies within us, right? See, we have the rationality, we have the spiritual element, we have the awareness, sajagta, to understand what's going on around us. And with at our age, most of us, we have the maturity to discriminate, to distinguish the right from the wrong. So whatever deficits or lacks or gaps that you see within yourself and the environment around you, let's do one little pledge today, quiet, silent, a promise to ourselves, that I will take responsibility and ownership. I will take the ownership of my life here on, and I will take 100% charge of my life and figure out the reason for whatever lack or whatever gaps I am conceiving and I'm perceiving in my life, and I'll do my level best to fill up those gaps by upskilling myself, reading more about it, connecting with the right kind of people, probably seeking help when it would require, Right. And human nature is the core characteristic of feeling, thoughts, and behavior shared by the people. We have a collective unconscious, we have a collective conscious. And trust me, the era that we are in, the collective spiritual consciousness is on a rise. The moment somebody talks about Sister Shivani, Sadhguru, and many other thought leaders, contemporary thought leaders of our time, see the connect we feel with them and whatever they are sharing with us. We see meaning in whatever they are talking about, isn't it? So, certainly, my guide, Dr. B.S. Sandhu, under whom I did my PhD, he said something very interesting once, because my work is on creativity, a cognitive variable. So he said that there was a time in the history of humankind when we evolved physically. You remember that one picture in our history books, like how we evolved from almost an ape and orangutan kind of a being to a Homo sapien. If you remember, there were 7, 8 different figures. We were on fours, and then we became erect, and then we became how we look alike, like how we look like now. So he says there was an era when we were evolving physically. So there was a lot of changes that happened in the way we look and our bodies are. However, over the period of time, he says now is the time we are evolving cognitively. And he says the changes in the technology that we are seeing these days is a testimony to human cognitive evolution. And in last few years, maybe COVID has been a trigger. I don't have any doubt in saying that we are evolving at a level of consciousness as well, at the level of spirituality as well, isn't it? So earlier, when in our growing up days, we had those different channels, Astha and other Hindi channels, where people used to come and talk about religion, tell stories from our scriptures. But now we are moving on from religion towards spirituality, right? And spirituality is the biggest thing. Why? Because somewhere, religion is ritualistic. There are certain rigidities and boundaries and norms that have been set by the religion. But spirituality sets us free. Because one of the core values, I think, of spirituality is free will, isn't it? So yes, we are free to choose our actions. However, the consequences of those actions are something that we have to then accept very gracefully, right? So the free will that we have, the capacity to speak in a courteous, polite manner, no matter what is happening around us, how people choose to speak and behave, we still have. I think Mother Teresa said, and Pramodji also, he quotes this very often, that no matter how people behave, how unkind they are, and how much they think you are such a fool to be uh, ethical and integrated, still be the one, because someone has to keep, we can always be the compass of our society, and compass always faces the north, right? So we human beings have that choice of deliberately choosing what is right and what is effective and what is correct. I'm not talking about good or bad. No, I don't believe in goods and bads. They're only effective and ineffective things, right? So we have that discretion, we have that decision making power with us to delineate the effective from the ineffective. Let's start exercising that power today onwards. है ना? Luck, kismat, God, Bhagwan, all these things, they are just consequences of the karma that we determine or that we decide on doing today, right? So let's sow the right kind of seeds today so that we get the fruit that we desire, so that those plants, those trees, they bear the fruit that we want our progeny and our children to enjoy. Isn't it? नीम बोएंगे नीम होएगा, आम बोएंगे आम होएगा. क्या बोना है वो हमारी चॉइस है, राइट? उसके बाद वो मिट्टी पानी सब उसको कैसे नर्चर करना है वो भी हमारी चॉइस है, right? So one lesson that I want everyone to take home is that we are the in charge of our lives. We are on the driver's seat of our lives, and we can steer our life no matter what the circumstances are. We can always choose to see the positive. We can always keep the learning with us. We can always choose to keep the wisdom and derive the wisdom out of the experience and let go of the probably the unpleasant emotion out of that. So that's the first message for all of you. So as I shared, our mind, it operates at three levels: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious level. So conscious mind is something which is here and now. So all of us, we are engaged in this session. So that is the conscious mind, which is just about 10% of the total mind, because total mind means sum total of all the experience we have had till date. So out of all the experience that we have had till date, it's a very tiny part of it which is engaged in this session, right? And then is the subconscious mind. It is all the memories that we can recall. And then is the unconscious mind. There's so many aspects of our life which were probably unpleasant, which brought us some kind of uh, uh, unpleasant memories or events, so we really don't want to think about it all the time, but they are very much a part and parcel of our minds. And trust me, most of the times we are driven by our subconscious and unconscious mind. That's why I said, no, you got to be conscious of the choices that most of us, we are operating on autopilot mode. To just to give you an example, if I abuse you, अगर मैं आपको गाली देती हूँ ना, अपने आप से गाली निकलेगी, right? Because we are on an autopilot mode. We are driven by the subconscious forces, isn't it? मैं आपसे झगड़ा करती हूँ ना, we will not make peace with it very easily. If I backbite you, it's not easy to, digest it and just let it go without applying and engaging a lot of our own energy into that. So today, I really want to give you this message that we are not to be here on this planet to be going on and moving on an autopilot mode, right? God has given us so much of potential. He has given us one of the most powerful tools, that is our capacity to make choices. Let's start applying it today onwards. And of course, those choices are to be applied in the direction of personal growth, in the direction of relationship management, in the direction of professional growth. But professional growth में भी तो यही है ना. So many of us have become so complacent. ठीक है, चल रहा है, 10 साल से 20 साल से एक ही जॉब में है, वही क्लासेस पढ़ानी है, वही नोट्स से पढ़ाए जा रहे हैं. No, upgrading ourselves is a must if we want to really keep pace with what is happening in our environment and what is happening around us, right? And other than mind, other than language, we have certain needs. Why I'm talking about these needs is, if you have a look at it, that strong interpersonal relationships, the foundation of strong interpersonal relationship is on a very simple principle: how best can we fulfill someone else's need? How can we serve someone? Because we understand that we, coming from the same community called human beings, we all have shared needs. If you have a look at the Maslow's hierarchy triangle, uh, basic need, roti kapda makan, once it is fulfilled, we have a need to feel safe and secure, and then we have this need to love and belong. If all corporate houses, if all workspaces understand this simple need hierarchy theory, that people who are working in a certain organization, if parents understand this, if teachers understand this, right, that the basic need of a human is to feel safe and make the ecosystem a safe place to be. Isn't it? I was not scared to be late for this session because knowing Pramod sir for so many years, I knew he would understand. Isn't it? He creates that ecosystem around where you can just be yourself, unapologetically yourself. You don't have to justify, you don't have to think of bahanas and other kind of things, right? So anybody who's in a leadership position, when I say leadership position, we are talking, of course, about the hierarchy which is there in the organization. Anybody who's in the power position, when I'm talking about power position, anybody, again, either by virtue of age or by virtue of status. Parents are in a power position till the time children are children, till about childhood and around preteens. Adolescents, they are no more, they want power too, isn't it? So if people in power, teachers are a power position by virtue of being teachers, right? So if all people in power positions, parents, teachers, bosses, uh, They understand, head of the departments, directors, and principals, that we just need to look after safety needs, love and belonging needs, and esteem needs. What do we do in relationship when we are in a power position? We love to tick, we love to criticize, we tell people what is not right in them. Do that, but there's a way to do that, isn't it? There is a way to do that, means we got to do that you got to do that privately. That, look, there is something that I've observed which I think is a impediment in your professional growth. I mean, I want to sit with you and let you know and give my observations on that. I hope you will be accepting that, or I hope you'll be receptive to that. Right? So all human beings, they have some basic needs. We want to be loved and belong, rooted. We like to be loved and respected, right? We want people to see value in us. So can't we fulfill these simple needs amongst people who work with us, children whom we are raising? Where comes this a sense of entitlement that if you're in a power position, you can treat people any which way that you want? I have seen men treating their spouses in a pathetic manner, right? Whereas I even heard someone say कि पहले पति परमेश्वर होता था, अब हम life partners हैं, है ना? So if we start treating everybody like partners, there's a very beautiful model given by Simon Sinek talking about these leadership theory. It is called as the constellation model. And I apply that in my organization. I do that at home also. My son is a 16-year-old young boy, I would say. And we are partners now. मेरे से लंबा है वो. Isn't it? So what is a constellation? Anyone? Constellation क्या होता है? Group of stars. Beautiful.
Group of stars.
Yes.
Somebody said.
So in a constellation, you understand. So normally organization में कैसी होती है? Hierarchy होती है. Somebody, one person on the top, और आप नीचे जाते जाइए, जैसे आप स्क्रीन पे भी देख रहे हैं, बेस बड़ा होता जाता है ना? लेकिन जब हम ग्रुप ऑफ स्टार्स की बात करते हैं, तो एक तो उसका आप डिजाइन सोचो. सब everybody is in some space and there is no vertical kind of a arrangement there, right? So, when we talk about constellation model of leadership, what we are meaning to say is that rather than having these hierarchies, let's look at people as stars in their own sense of being. What does a star mean? Let's look for strengths in people, isn't it? So, I practice positive psychology, right? So I generally start my introduction or some presentations in this manner, that all of us, we know what is wrong with our subordinates, with our children, with our spouses, and many a times with ourselves as well. Do we really know what is right? Is my question to all of you today. Do you really know what is right with you? I mean, what is your core strength? Do you really know what is right with your child, with your spouse, with your subordinates? आज जाके strength finding करिए, है ना? So ऐसा ही एक seminar चल रहा था, and the speaker was having a very good engaging session with the lovely audience like you are. So उस hall में जहाँ पे he was delivering the lecture, it was a newly made hall and they had created a very beautiful ceiling there. However, for whatever reasons, one of the tiles of the ceiling was broken. So this coach had a wonderful opportunity to teach a wonderful lesson to the attendees. So he said, everybody please look up and tell me, what do you see? As I say, that there's this lovely ceiling with one tile missing. Now my question to all of you, what does your instinct tell you? सबने क्या देखा होगा या majority ने क्या देखा होगा?
The broken tile.
Thank you so much. See, that's how human mind functions. 99 चीज ठीक है, एक गलत है, और हम उसी को रोते रहेंगे. You got to correct this. You got to rectify this. We never tell someone. We are talking about human relationships, right? Do we ever tell people how beautiful humans they are, what wonderful workers they are, or how punctual they are, or how hardworking they are, or how dedicated they are towards their jobs? Do we ever tell our children what a difference they have made, or their presence, what difference they have made to our lives? I often hear parents screaming, teachers screaming, बच्चे ऐसे नहीं करते, हमारे बच्चे हमारी नहीं सुनते, XYZ. The moment we get to sit with our age group or maybe our profession, what are we discussing? We are generally complaining. ये ठीक नहीं है, ये ठीक नहीं है, हमारे टाइम पे ऐसा होता था, हम ऐसे करते थे. गो आस्क योर पेरेंट्स, लेट्स आस्क अवर पेरेंट्स, हमने कितना नाक, उनको कितना लगता था हमने उनके नाक में दम करा हुआ है ना. सो आज से ना एक छोटी सी प्रैक्टिस और शुरू करते हैं सब लोग. लेट्स लुक फॉर व्हाट इज राइट rather than always looking for what is wrong. I'm not saying ignore the wrong. No, no, I'm not an optimist or an utopian. I'm a very, very logical person. But एक और चीज आपको बताती हूँ. There's something called as लोधा's ratio. LODHA, लोधा's ratio. आप जाके इंटरनेट पे सर्च भी करिएगा. We all need strokes to feel good about ourselves. राइट. जब छोटा बच्चा होता है, जब हम उसको गोद में लेते हैं, you all know ना, we give them strokes, we give stroke their cheeks or we stroke their head. जब कोई मुसीबत में भी होता है, the moment you put your hand on someone else's shoulder and say, don't worry, I'm there, or we are together in this, or you can fall back on me. So this touch is a stroke. Right. So not only there are physical strokes that we give to each other, we also give each other verbal strokes. That's why I said the language is something which is exclusive to human beings. Please be very mindful of these verbal strokes that you give. If you really want your children to listen to you, if you want your subordinates to listen to you, Lodha's ratio says there is 3:1 ka ratio. You need to say three good things to someone for that person to be receptive about one, feedback or criticism that you wish to share with them. So be sure about it. If you're only criticizing people, people will shut themselves to you. You will be a villain in their lives. Correct? Why? Because nobody likes to hear so much negative about oneself. Let's get that. When you criticize someone, either they become offensive or they become defensive. So when they are offensive, you have an argument. When they are defensive, they are just justifying their behavior. So in both the conditions, there is no change that is happening. There's no receptivity. Either I'm protecting myself, my ego, right? Or in a manner that I'm justifying, that's why I'm on the back foot, I'm defensive, or else I'm also playing full on with you, right? And that's how, a normal conversation, it takes the form of an argument. To avoid such situations, if you really desire to bring about a behavioral change or an attitudinal change in someone, always remember the Lodha's ratio, right? I can quote so many real life examples. How many of you actually stroke your children when you catch them doing something which is effective? I saw my son clearing his room that day, right? I genuinely gave him a compliment that I'm so pleased to see that you're responsibly, cleaning your room. राइट. और हम क्या करते हैं, बच्चे कमरा साफ कर रहे होते हैं, हम क्या कहते हैं, वाह आज तो सूरज पता नहीं कहाँ से निकला है कि ये हो रहा है, वही छोड़ देते हैं वो कपड़े, और फिर बोलते हैं अच्छा 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 कर लो हम तो जा रहे हैं. करते हैं ना ऐसा, है ना. सो और जब वो नहीं कर रहे होते कुछ ऐसा जो चाहिए, जो डिजायरेबल है, देन वी कैन रियली लैश आउट ऑन देम. So what are we doing when they're not doing something right? We lash out. When they're doing something right, then कल मेरा transactional analysis की हम बात करेंगे, right? Then we are really sharp in our comments. So where is that genuine encouragement thing coming? वो कब आएगी relationship में? फिर हम बोलते हैं हमारे बच्चे हमारी सुनते नहीं. एक और टिप दे देती हूँ आज सबको, हमारे बच्चे हमारी सुनेंगे कभी नहीं, क्योंकि उनको सुनना आता नहीं, उनको देखना आता है. They only see. They don't hear, right? So what kind of role models are you for your children? With the mobile in your hand, you can't tell your child to be off the mobile. With the late night wake up routines and late morning routines, you can't tell your children to early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, wise. You can't tell them that. Isn't it? Often I have caught parents who come to me for counseling and all. So if a child is yelling, the parent will yell 2x plus and say, why are you yelling? And I'm shocked. What are you doing? You're exactly doing what you do not want your child to do, isn't it? That is why I said hush, consciousness, awareness. So, whether you talk about, I was talking to you about leadership model, right? Star constellation model. So, if you are really a leader, you just have to identify who is good at what and delegate that particular responsibility to that person. Now please, there are 3 step process. तीनों steps बहुत important है, लिख लीजिए, एक भी मिस हुआ गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. First, you being a leader, identify the strength of the person, communicate that strength to the person, right? Delegate some work which is in sync with that strength with to that person. But with delegation, there's another very important thing which is called as accountability. Most of the times we end up in very awkward situations with our juniors or with the work that we have delegated to someone because we don't take feedback. We do not hold that person accountable for that particular thing, right? So once you have identified the strength, once you have delegated the responsibility to that particular individual, and you're also holding people accountable for those jobs or those courses or those roles that you have assigned to them, there will be immaculate flow uh, of work, of assignments, of the project that you have in hand, right? So Mrs. Anuradha is there, Sir is there, I'm here online. We have a full-fledged team, and we all know who is good at what. So whenever we design the programs, we precisely pick up the person. Hey, this one would be very good for communication. This one will do justice with relationship things. This one will do justice with some, something with a spiritual content in it. And that's how, we are such a lovely constellation of stars. And of course, our leader is Pramod sir, but this is something I've learned from and I'm sharing with you after around 3 years of working very, very closely with this gentleman who is sitting amongst all of you today, right? So please, we identify the strengths of our team and of people who are around us and also identify the needs. और सबकी कॉमन नीड्स हैं लव एंड बिलोंगिंगनेस कुछ और भी आपको बताती हूँ ईगो स्टेट्स की बात हम कल करेंगे yes talking about communication this is what I wanted to tell you that there are 3 basic psychological needs that all we human beings have. Pick up your pens and papers and write it down. The need to be seen, need to be heard, and need to be valued. I repeat, needs to be seen, need to be heard, and need to be valued. Just imagine a scenario where a lot of teachers with you or including you are sitting in a teacher's staff room. Your principal or director comes in, have an eye contact with everyone, but sees through you. मतलब वो आपसे आई कांटेक्ट ही नहीं करते एज इफ यू आर नॉट देयर जस्ट थिंक अबाउट इट हाउ डज इट फील you feel left out, you feel excluded, isn't it? Similarly, let's suppose you're talking to your spouse and he's really busy in his computer, from computer screen to telephone screen, from mobile screen to computer screen. And an occasional, that's it. Imagine how does it feel? You feel so non-existing, isn't it? Because you're never heard, you're not heard. That is why we talk about listening as a skill, as such an important component of communication. And third is being valued. आप बात कर रहे हो कोई बीच में ही आपकी बात काट के शुरू हो जाता है and you're just looking at that person face blank that I'm not done yet, I haven't completed my sentence yet. Then you say, forget it. Just imagine how does it feel. Yeah, we feel belittled.
Ma'am, just let me read it out for my friends here.
Yes.
Attention, appreciation, and affection. So
Yes.
she said कि you are having a need to be seen, heard, and valued. Yes, ma'am, we can
May I
continue.
continue, sir? Okay, great. So I said there are three human needs, which sir also just shared with all of you. He repeated. Now, the next question is, how do we fulfill these three needs? We fulfill these three needs by paying attention to people, right? When people come to you, we are talking about human relationships, we are talking about forming connections, right? So when people come to you, your children, your spouses, your colleagues, your seniors, your आप सोचो ना, जब हमारे सीनियर रूम में आता है, हम सब कुछ छोड़ के खड़े हो जाते हैं, अटेंशन देते हैं ना, तो हम बंदे को थोड़ी अटेंशन दे रहे हैं, फिर तो हम उसकी पावर को अटेंशन दे रहे हैं, we're giving attention to the power of that person or the seat of that person. Why isn't every human who's around us, why can't we give same attention to that person? Your subordinate comes in, you're doing something, ask them with a gentle movement of your hand or a nod of your head to take a seat. Tell them that I'm in middle of something, please allow me to finish this, then I'll listen to you, and once you're done with it, why can't we give undivided attention to them? Why can't we do the same with our children? When they are talking to us, why can't we just keep this gadget off or little away from us for a little while and give some time to our children, maintaining eye contact with them, taking interest in what they are interested in, right? Second is appreciation. I told you, please start looking for what is right. वो broken tile syndrome छोड़ दीजिए, है ना? जो 99 चीजें सही हैं जिंदगी में, लोगों में, people around us, let's acknowledge that and appreciate them and encourage them for that. See the magic unfold after that. You have no idea, uh, or maybe some idea about power of appreciation. Start using it more often consciously. This remains the key word throughout the session today. Consciously, sajagta se, with awareness, right? And see how much how you boost someone's morale and how you make them feel good about themselves, and then they will prove you right. And the last thing is affection, sneh, being loving, kind humans. It takes nothing at all it takes is your own healing. Isn't it? वो बोलते हैं ना that if you squeeze a lemon, only lemon juice will come out of it. No matter how hard you squeeze it, till the last drop, it will be lemon juice and not tomato juice or pineapple juice. If you squeeze an orange, what do you think will come out? Orange juice. So when you are sorted a person yourself, when you have healed your traumas and you've made peace with whatever you have in your life, right? And when you have that ownership mindset and that abundant mindset, you are able to accept people the way they are, and you give them unconditional affection and love, and there are no conditions applied, है ना? कंडीशंस अप्लाई सिर्फ सेल में लिखा हुआ अच्छा लगता है, रिश्तों में नहीं. Isn't it? When we expect people to do things our way, and when they fulfill our expectation, and when we show them love and appreciation, it is not unconditional love, it is conditional. They fulfilled an expectation, by the way. सो वो प्यार आप उनको नहीं दे रहे हो, वो प्यार आप अपने आप को दे रहे हो, क्योंकि आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन फुलफिल हुई. अब उसकी है, मतलब अब वो पात्र है, अब वो एलिजिबल है आपके प्यार के लिए, राइट? वो प्यार नहीं होता. वो तो कंडीशंस अप्लाइड होती है, right? Unconditionally accepting people the way they are, being cheerleader for them, being mentors for them, being caretakers for them, where people feel safe in your company, in your presence, है ना? That is so important. And करना क्या, कुछ नहीं करना, मतलब we just have to accept people the way they are. Why do we have to do that? Because we don't know where they come from. And I'm saying this being a psychologist, right? Because people come to me who look so normal, or otherwise, or when people come to me full of anger and sadness and anxiety and fear, right? It is so easy to reject them and treat them as discards, or treat them as, I don't want to be a friend with this person. But we have no idea, my dear friends, what their wounds and traumas are. So let's make a very simple philosophy of life that we will treat people in a more gentle manner. That's about all, right? We will be kinder towards self as well as others. Let me tell you one more thing. If you can't be kind and loving and accepting towards your own self, you can't give this gift to anybody. आप एक छोटा सा एक्सपेरिमेंट करके देखो. Just become your own thought auditor today onwards. Be mindful of the language that you speak to yourself, or the language you use about others when you fail or when they fail. That's a true test of your patience, your tolerance, and what kind of, or how kind or cruel you are to self and others. आज ये तजुर्बा करके देखो. I went somewhere yesterday for a training program, and when it got over, I asked for tea.
Ma'am, there is one question here. Yes,
Yes, sir.
ma'am.
how it is possible always we can say kind to others. तो कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हम हमें खास कहते बिना वो बंदा समझता ही नहीं.
Ma'am, have you been able to listen to the question?
She said कि harsh हुए बिना उसको समझ में ही नहीं आता.
Yeah, she said ke bhi at times, how can we be always kind in our conversation? Sometimes the other person demanding us to be harsh, otherwise he or she will not be understanding us.
So मुझसे please answer this question for me.
मैं ये कहूँगा मैम इस बारे में, दिस इज ए पार्ट ऑफ अवर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स आल्सो. टॉपिक भी मैम का इसी के ऊपर है. अंडर एनी सर्कमस्टांसेस देयर इज अ गोल्डन रूल. Do unto others what other people you want them to do unto us. No circumstance, no position of yours give you permission to be unkind. This is one of the prerequisites of any communication. If you want to be heard, believe me on this, when a situation arises and you want to be harsh, or you have a tendency to be harsh, pause for a moment. Pausing is a very important part of communication. Pause for a moment, recompose yourself, change the directions from harshness to kindness. You will find you will be doing a better job. It is not always possible. I understand that very well. We have a tendency to do that, but with practice, you will be a better person. You will be listened to better. Sometimes no, it's not the situation. मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि I did that mistake and I still continue to do that mistake, but we can reduce it and be more effective in our communication if I am able to practice in the right way. वो प्रैक्टिस की जरूरत है. आप स्वयं से देखिए कि आपकी क्लास में या आपके परिवार में किसको आप ज्यादा सुन रहे हैं, चाहे वो बुजुर्ग है चाहे वो बच्चा है. नो, योर पोजीशन डज नॉट परमिट यू. वो कभी कभी जो आपको आता है मोमेंटरली आता है, वो मोमेंट्स कम किए जा सकते हैं, एलिमिनेट किए जा सकते हैं. यू नीड टू प्रैक्टिस फॉर दैट. प्रैक्टिस की जरूरत है उसके लिए. दैट इज व्हाई वी आर हैविंग दिस सेशंस.
यस, एक चीज प्रमुख और ऐड करूंगी इसमें. मैम, इन साइकोलॉजी वी से connections before correction, isn't it? If we form a connection, and connect will always happen on an emotional front, ma'am. If there is someone who's not listening to you, trust me, all you need to do is sit with that person privately and discuss this as an adult to adult manner, that I've tried enough number of times to be objectively communicating things with you. I don't want to be coercive with you. But then ultimately, it so happens that unless I shout or I be rude with you, you just don't happen to budge, or you just don't happen to take responsibility, right? today in this session, like, please spare some time. I really want to understand, what space do you come from, or what is the reason that that you ask for this kind of a treatment, or you push me, or you corner me into that situation where I really need to blow my top up, and then you respond, right? And maybe, ma'am, I do not know whom you are talking about. It could be your own child. Like, a lot of parents have this complaint against children कि जब तक हम चिल्लाते नहीं हैं, ये सुनते नहीं हैं, है ना? So, ma'am, somewhere that connection is missing. I remember one of the videos, Pramod sir, that you show, remember, where we say, when you're in love with someone, जब हम courtship period में होते हैं, या when we are in love with someone, we don't even talk. You just sit. My husband stays in Bombay. I mean, he's posted in Bombay. And trust me, it's just रात को he calls me once to find out how the day was, how our son is doing, how his house, and everything. Right? Very limited conversations, yet a very strong connection. So please try
Uh,
this, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, that was not a video, that was a question asked by a sage
Ah,
from his students. I have that PPT with me. Maybe towards the end of your session, we
yes.
will share that PPT with all of you here. That why we yell. This
Yes.
question was asked, as you have asked just now, by a sage to his disciples, and they answered. And what the ma'am is now saying, you will get the answer just now after this.
Yes. Right. So, but basically, these were the things that I wanted to share with all of you. That maintaining healthy relationship is, trust me, it's not a rocket science. And I always believe. I'm just switching off my PPT, and I'll just interact for the last few minutes with you without my PPT. That maintaining relationships is definitely an art as well as a science. And when we're talking about relationship management, it is more about self management. It is more about being aware of our own triggers, isn't it? हम कभी नहीं कह सकते कि वो मुझे गुस्सा दिला रहा है. No, nobody has the power to create anger in us, or create anxiety in us, or create fear in us, right? We have certain triggers, so we got to work on those triggers. And ultimately, I would say that we got to practice a more gentle and kinder philosophy of life. And we must understand that everybody come from their own journeys, where they have had their own struggles, and where they have had their own difficult experiences. So whoever people are, they are by virtue of those circumstances. तो आज सबसे पहले Mr. Gaurav, I've seen you're raising your hand. I'll just come to you in case you have a question. I'll ask you in a moment. सो हमको अपने ट्रिगर्स के ऊपर काम करना है, राइट? और एक एक पक्की चीज जो हमने करनी है कि just because somebody is misbehaving, or somebody is being rude, somebody is being unkind, we are not going to lose our space of kindness, our space of maturity, our space of wisdom. Pramod sir, that's all I wanted to share with everyone today, and the house is open for
And
questions.
ma'am, before we open the discussion, a very important topic which has just now sprung up. May I share that story with every one of you?
Where, why
Uh,
not?
I'll just share that. Okay. Let me just find it. Give me 1 minute time. I'll just find it out.
Meanwhile, if there are any questions, I'm more than happy. Mr. Gaurav Thakur, is there any question or feedback or comment? Because I can see you've raised your hand. Anybody else? Any question? Any observation? Any insight? You can use your chat box in case you.
Jai Hind, ma'am.
Jai Hind, ma'am.
This is Dr. Sarju here. I actually thoroughly enjoyed your session.
Thank you.
And the way you make things clear. I've been from a background of HR. I teach HR as a subject, but still, then there were so many things which I learned today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sergio, ma'am. I'm so glad that you
Thank you
received
so
it.
much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, this is a small story. I think let me just read it out for all of us. What this replies your question, and this question remain with all of us. All of us, in a spur of a moment, we do certain actions, but that is not my usual self, not your usual self. We try to assign this reason to somebody else instead of making a correction in myself. So this is a small story. I think you are able to watch it on the screen, Dr. Shilpa.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So this was a question: why people yell? When we yell, we are not kind. Yes. Why should we? Why we shout in the anger? A sage asked his disciples, "Why do we yell in anger? When we are in anger, we yell. We lose our temper. We are unkind in our communication. Why do people yell at each other when they are upset?" The man thought for a while, because we lose our calm. Said one, we yell for that. When we lose our calm, we yell for that. At least there is some acknowledgement in his this reply. But why do you yell when the other person is just next to you? When we raise our voice, the person is just next to you. Ask the sage, isn't it possible to speak him or her with a soft voice? Why do you yell at the person when you are angry? The man gave some other answers, but none satisfied the sage. We are trying to find out the answers, and but we are not being feeling satisfied about it. Okay. Finally, he explained, when two people are angry at each other, their hearts distance a lot. फिजिकल डिस्टेंस इज वन थिंग, हार्ट का जो दूरी है वो बढ़ जाती है व्हेन यू आर एंग्री विद समबडी. टू कवर दैट डिस्टेंस दे मस्ट yell
Yeah.
to be able to hear each other. The angrier you are, the stronger they will have to yell to hear each other through that great distance. जितना आपका दिल दूर होता रहता है, फिर वो डिस्टेंस कवर करने के लिए आपको अपनी आवाज को बढ़ाना पड़ता है. Then the sage asked, what happens when two people fall in love? They do not yell at each other, but talk softly. Why? Their hearts are very close. The distance between them is very small. मैम ने अभी बात करी कनेक्टिविटी की, अंडरस्टैंडिंग की, ट्रस्ट की. That brings you closer to the love, and then you don't have to, that your heart, the distance between the hearts is very, very small. The sage continued, when they love each other even more, what happens? They do not even speak, only whisper, and they get even closer to each other in their love. कभी आपने देखा है दो जो भी आपस में प्यार कर रहे हैं, they hardly whisper. You won't know what they are talking about. Finally, they need not even whisper. They only look at each other, and that's all. You know, one of the ma'am, I always say, to test your relationship with the other person, the litmus test समझते हैं जो पक्का टेस्ट है, is not how comfortable you are in talking to each other, how comfortable you are in the silence with each other.
Yes.
If I am sitting with my friend, my family member, and we are not speaking, I go sometimes for a long walk of 5 kilometers with my wife without having a single dialogue. I think this is a very, very good sign of having a good relationship. We don't need to talk. It happens. Okay. Just as I mentioned, just practice it. We need to have that. Yeah. You have to have a teacher like Dr. Shilpa or Dr. Kuldeep Jadka to reach that situation. Finally, they no, not always, but large part of our walk is on silence. With not only with my wife, with my friends also many times. Many times Dr. Shilpa comes to my office. We sometimes quietly enjoy a cup of coffee and then go back. Okay. Then the sage asked, when you argue, do not let your heart's distance. When you argue, do not let. You have to make a conscientious decision on this. के we are, कल मैंने एक sentence बोला था, let us agree to
Disagree.
वो let us, मतलब वो हार्ट का डिस्टेंस को दूर मत होने दीजिए. Let us agree to disagree. Suffer it be so now. Maybe some other time, if the God is willing, we will be together again on that mission again. Uh, do not say words that distance each other more. In the heat of the argument, we say certain words, वो distance को और बढ़ा देता है. Else there will come a day when the distance is so great that you will not find the path to. ऐसा होता है मैम, ऐसा होता है सर. Between father and a son, between the brothers, between the sisters, between husband and wife, between your colleagues. बच्चे तो reconcile कर लेते हैं. Ma'am, one of the things which I say in the communication and the interpersonal relationship is your power of acceptance the person as he or she is, irrespective of the age, gender, and anything. And the second important thing to my mind is, ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, is the power of reconciliation. Let us agree to reconcile on thing. At least reconcile on agree, not to agree on an issue. That is one of the first steps. Let the distance not be so great that you will not be able to come back. God bless you, my dear friend. This is a small story which ma'am was referring to. I'm glad, ma'am, you brought it up.
Sir, I think it is one of the shortest but most profound lessons on, silence, power of silence, and love, and everything. So I thought that this makes a very relevant read for everybody.